Hey there, I'm back. I had a baby. I'm back to YouTube. I'm excited. I'm going to take you on a 2020 recap and show you everything that happened in this last year. It's a little late. I don't care. We're going to do it anyway, and I'm excited for you to join me. Hey there, I'm Katelyn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a place where we like to, I don't remember it. Hold on.
This is a place to empower
photographers to build profitable and purposeful businesses,
while also giving you a
little behind the scenes in our everyday life. Hey there, I'm Katelyn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a place where we love to empower photographers to build profitable and purposeful businesses while also giving you a little peek into the behind the scenes of our day-to-day life. Today I'm talking about a 2020 recap, and I'm talking about it at the end of February of 2021. And you may think, oh man, she's really behind. And I am, because I have an 8-week-old baby and a 21-month-old son and a just turned 4-year-old daughter, and life is crazy. But the reason why I want to do this is because 2020 was a crap year for a lot of people. It was weird. It was out of the ordinary. Our industry suffered greatly, and there's a lot of negative. But I think looking back, there's also some positive things that are worth celebrating. And we need to celebrate it now, because if we don't celebrate it when we have years that are just kind of awful, then we don't ever learn to truly celebrate when it truly counts. So I want to walk you through month by month our 2020 from a personal perspective and from a business perspective, and really celebrate our wins, but also bring you along on the journey of our life that has happened in the last year. So we are going to throw photos up on the screen as I talk through month by month what happened this year. But if you'd like more information and links to some of the things I'm talking about, but also see more behind the scenes and personal photos, there is a blog post that I compiled of this entire process, and you can find the link below. All right, so January, start of a new year. Everything seemed really normal. We took our kids to the beach with some friends. We had a lot of fun at home. The kids were in like a dress-up phase. It was awesome, but things started to take a turn for the worst. My granddad had 2 strokes and ended up passing away at the end of January. And then my mom, who is one of our main caregivers for our kids when we do our work week hours, she's a huge part of our life, went in for routine stomach surgery, and it turned into a permanent diagnosis that was life-altering, and what we thought was going to be something that affected us the rest of our life. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but that is what was happening on the personal side. Side note, also, in the midst of all this, my dad, who's been a pastor for 30 years, decides for the first time in 30 years he needs a sabbatical. He needs a big break. He needs to step back. So he stepped back from his work. My mom had a horrible surgery recovery. We lost my granddad, and we thought, wow, 2020 is just not off to a great start. Little did we know what was about to happen in the months to come. During January, that was the personal side. The business side, my sister and I took a few days. We went to a hotel. We did a huge workcation, and I did 2 projects that I ended up launching at the very first week of February. So in February, those 2 projects we were working on in January were launched, and that is a complete redo of the KJ Bridal Guide template. So the KJ Bridal Guide template is basically our client magazine that we send out to our couples as soon as they book us to be their wedding photographers, and it teaches them everything about how to have a timeline that gives us enough time to shoot their wedding. It teaches them everything about having a photography-friendly wedding day. But the cool thing that we launched and created during this time of 2020 was the first ever KJ Groom's Guide. We had a lot of feedback that the grooms got left out. So now when we mail our clients their bridal magazine, they also get a miniature magazine that is the KJ Groom's Guide. And so they get a little something in the mail as soon as they book as well. So we launched that at the beginning of February. My daughter, Evie, turned 3, which now we're recording this. She recently just turned 4, which is just crazy. But she turned 3, we celebrated, and we flew to Boston to shoot a wedding in the dead of winter in Boston. It was freezing. But the cool thing about that wedding in February is that it was such a perfect wedding to showcase what it looks like to be a natural light photographer in a situation where I had to shoot probably 40 to 60% of that day with flash. I hate using flash. I just hate it. I know how to do it and I can use it properly, but I don't love it. So that wedding was challenging for me, but I was so thrilled with the results, and we filmed the entire wedding day. So we came back home, we said, this is gonna be a great KJ All Access episode, which if you don't know what KJ All Access is, that is our membership program that allows photographers to watch me every single month shoot weddings and portrait sessions from behind the scenes. So I shot that wedding in Boston, and we realized this needs to be our new free trial. So it's still our free trial because it's so impactful. So if you've never tried KG All Access, you can actually watch us shoot this entire wedding for free. You can sign up. There's a link below. So that all happened in February. Another exciting thing that happened in February was that we launched this YouTube channel, which I'm so proud of, because if you go back to our first video when we first were talking about it, we committed to doing YouTube content every single week. And we stuck to that minus maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Is that right, Ty? Maybe 2 to 3 weeks. We stuck to that. And that was in the midst of a global pandemic. It was in the midst of weird stuff happening in the industry, like losing all of our weddings for the spring and summer. It was also in the midst of me getting pregnant in March and spending literally the entire year of doing YouTube pregnant. We still stuck to our commitment, and it's been a journey. We actually have a video where we talk about what we've learned in the last year of doing YouTube and how it's grown, but how it's also surprised us. So you can find the link to that below as well. So that launched in February. We took our kids to Florida on what was going to be our last family vacation that we actually flew somewhere for a very long time, because of the pandemic that we didn't know was happening. So it was perfect timing. But before we did that trip, I actually flew down a few days before and did a beautiful destination engagement session for our clients, Jack and Haley, whose wedding you will see come back around in July. It was awesome. It was the perfect way to get that session done before the world shut down. So in March, we started the month off with our last engagement session for a long time, but we didn't realize it was going to be our last. We flew to Oklahoma, did a beautiful shoot with some of our dream clients, Jonathan and Melanie. And the shoot was one of my favorites, like all-time favorites. And so it was really awesome to do a shoot that was so beautiful, because it kind of carried me through what was going to be a several month process of waiting to get to shoot again because of the pandemic. We had no idea that basically days after this shoot happened, the world literally shut down. And so the rest of our March recap was just us stuck at home with the kids. We pulled out the bounce house. We started making power balls every day. We started cooking for the first time in months. And I just realized, like, looking back at March, even though it was hard and it was weird and it was kind of chaotic, I know we are in a situation where we are grateful that we could be home. And we realize that that is a very privileged position to be in. But it was a gift to be able to be still and be with our family. And I think as I look back over the course of 2020, even though I would never choose to be in a pandemic, I don't think anybody would be, there was small little silver linings along the way. And one of the silver linings was in March. I look back and I think we had more family time that March, that period of time, than we had had in a very long time. Now you'll also see picture of Evie. Preschool obviously got canceled. Lots of tears in our house, but we made it through March, and we got to end our shooting season because of the pandemic with a beautiful shoot that kind of left us on a high that carried us through the months of not getting to do anything. All right, so April was a big month because I was walking around a neighborhood with my sister. She was acting weird, and I just looked at her straight in the face and I said, "Oh my gosh, are you pregnant?" And she couldn't lie to me. And she's like, "We were going to tell you tomorrow." And my first thought was, my gosh, you're always first. Because we always talk about, like, we wanted 3 kids, they wanted 3 kids, we wanted 3 kids, but she always has babies before us. And so I jokingly said, like, you're always first. And Michael looked at me and said, "Katelyn, you could be pregnant, you don't know." And I'm like, "I'm not pregnant, there's no way." Literally went home 2 hours later and took a pregnancy test and realized, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant with our 4th baby in 4 years. We lost our 2nd. There's a link, you can read all about his story, baby James. So that's why I say we want 3 kids, but this was our 4th pregnancy. I needed to clarify that. But found out we were pregnant with this 4th precious baby, and my sister was pregnant. We were due 3 days apart. So insert the beginning of crazy year. My sister runs this business with Michael and I, and my sister-in-law, who is actually now pregnant as well. So craziness. This is the season of babies. But we found out that we were pregnant in April. The very next day was Easter. Told our families on Easter all about the babies, that these new 2 little people were coming into our lives around December, beginning of December, into December for me. And then we decided, okay, we have this big branding shoot that we're doing with Abby Grace Photography. She's awesome. She does branding photography for creative business owners and really any business owners, but she does this amazing experience. And I knew that at the stage of our business, I should have had this done years ago. And so we bumped it up a little bit because I didn't want to look pregnant in all of these branding photos. It was a big investment and I wanted to make sure you couldn't tell that I was pregnant. So we did that. And I actually shared about this in the KJ Education Facebook group because so many people are desperate for really great photos of themselves in order to have content to share personally online. So that's a whole nother discussion. But if you have questions about what it looks like to do a branding shoot, you should follow Abby. If you're a photographer who wants to learn about how to start offering branding photography in your own business, you should follow Abby. So her link is below. But speaking of the Facebook group, this was the month where I started doing weekly check-ins. So I did Facebook Lives in the KJ Education Facebook group during I think almost every single Thursday for several months during the pandemic, because this is when we started to realize just how intensely we were going to be affected as a wedding industry. And all these photographers who were freaking out about the trajectory of their business and their year, we just started showing up for them every single week in our KJ Education Facebook group, which is a Facebook group that you do not have to be a course student to be a part of. It's a Facebook group that's hosted by us. It's a community that we maintain, that we foster, and we nurture every single week, and you can find a link for that below as well. If you're a photographer and you want to learn and grow in an encouraging community, we do not allow negative stuff. You get deleted right away. If you want to be a part of that group, that link is listed underneath in the comments below. So April was a great month, but this was a month where we weren't just idly standing by waiting for the world to reopen. We were actively pushing forward with other projects. So I was working from home on the KJ Consistency Course 2.0 redo. This was something that I thought, hey, I'll just work on this a couple minutes each day, get it done. This took literally months to do. It was so much work. I redid the entire thing, and we actually surprised our current consistency course students by giving them the redo for free. So we completely remade and updated a course, handed it over for free to our current students, and then launched it in the very next month and had so many new members join, which was really exciting. So May was a big month. Baby Graham started taking his first steps. Michael turned 34, sounds crazy. We celebrated what would have been baby James's second birthday, and we launched the KJ Consistency Course 2.0. And I do want to point out that looking back, I'm like, what was different about the launch of this course? Well, I filmed this course somewhat by myself with Ty's help remotely, virtually. It was strange. Basically, Ty came over during the height of the pandemic, very carefully, kept our distance, set up my office with all of his equipment, taught me how to turn it on, record myself, and run to my desk and film. And I basically, with Ty's help, filmed the KJ Consistency Course 2.0 by myself. It was bizarre. I did have a few moments where I sat down and talked through an entire lesson and realized the little red light wasn't on and I wasn't recording anything. So that was a bummer. That was frustrating. I was also in the first trimester of a pregnancy and highly emotional. So I'd come out of my office bawling and Michael's like, what happened? I'm like, I did all lesson 28 and I didn't even record any of it. So if you ever look at our courses and you're like, man, they're so well put together. There's a lot of tears that went into the KJ Consistency Course 2.0. We also went down my sister-in-law, Sarah, Michael's older sister, moved into a new house. We took our kids and we saw her house. Then literally the next day we drove down to Virginia Beach and saw my brother and sister-in-law's new house that they had just purchased. And it's on a little tiny body of water. The kids had a blast. It was a great way to be outside and to get them out of the normal everyday stuck in the house life that we had been living. So June happened. We announced to the world that we are having a baby, not just us, but my sister as well. So this will be the third set of cousins that are the exactly same age. Like the first two are 8 weeks apart, second two are 3 months apart, 12 weeks apart. And these next two babies ended up being 13 days apart. So we announced to the world, cousin twins number 3 coming, and the world thought I was pregnant with twins. So not the smartest pregnancy announcement, but you know, you would think we learned how to do this by like third time around, and we didn't, but it's fine. This month was also great because from a business perspective, we started filming. I wrote out and filmed the KJ Bridal Details mini course. Thought I was going to launch it that month, and I ended up launching it several months later, but we got it done while being pregnant in the midst of a pandemic, and I'm really proud of that. So July was a fun month because we always spend a lot of time down at the lake. We normally have a big group of friends that come down. This year obviously was very different, but July was also cool because Grammy and Paul, Michael's parents, we helped them move from our hometown. Michael and I grew up together. So the house that Michael grew up in, they sold, they moved, built a house near us, and it's really awesome to have them just 4 minutes down the road. Another thing that happened in July, we had a small elopement in Aspen, Colorado. It was beautiful. We've actually shown this wedding on KJ All Access. The funny thing, not funny, but interesting part about this wedding is that it was in Aspen, which is an incredibly high elevation. And my sister and I were both at this point 20 weeks pregnant, and we had to get an oxygen tank. We literally shot a wedding, then ran to the car and put our little oxygen tank on just to make sure the babies were getting enough oxygen. It was just hard to get a deep breath. So we filmed that wedding for a beautiful couple, Jack and Haley. We loved them. It was just as epic as we dreamed it would be. So very small, under 20 people, but it was a really cool way to kind of get our shooting skills back into play and to feel like we were doing what we loved all over again. This was also the month where we started a survival swim class for our kids, which is, I don't know if you've ever done this, super intense, 10 minutes a day, 6-week commitment, Monday through Thursday. Evie was like, she's a little fish, graduated early. Poor baby Graham, he struggled. He had a hard time. Ty's little girl Cece did it with us, and she was just such a little fish, just like Evie, and Graham just had a hard time. We think gymnastics is more his thing. So we did survival swim, and we spent a lot of time at home. But July was a good month. We got a lot accomplished, and we were continually working, not just on getting the KJ Bridal Details course ready to launch the next month, but we were also redesigning. I didn't mention this, but this entire year, we were working on redesigning my website, my blog, and the entire back end of KJ Education. So how people log in, how they purchase, how we sell, how we give people course access, everything was being completely redone behind the scenes during all of these months during the pandemic. So it looked like we weren't doing much from the outside looking in, but really we had a lot going on in the business. So August happened. We finally got to do a wedding, and it felt somewhat normal. Everyone was in masks, so maybe it wasn't that normal, but it was good to feel like we were back doing what we loved. We had done a miniature elopement in July, like I mentioned, but August were two larger scale weddings, and we carefully photographed them. We also launched a website. The brand new KatelynJames.com was launched, and I love this because I worked with Jen Olmstead, who's been our designer for over 8 years. And I told her, I'm like, we have pivoted so much in our business. So we are wedding photographers, but we're wedding photographers 10% of the time. I've been a wedding photographer as my main thing for over a decade. But now, truly, if you look at our business and our time, we are online educators. We teach people how to build businesses like what we've built. And our website needed to reflect that. And so now if you go to KatelynJames.com, you'll see a website that fully represents who we are today in business. And so we worked on that all summer. We launched it in August, and I'm so proud of it. Not only did we launch the website, and this is not going to be a big deal to you, but it's a huge deal for me. We finally have a blog that's on Show It. So Show It is how we've created our website. We use Show It to build our website and have for over a decade. We'll never use anything else, but I've never had a Show It blog. I've always had a WordPress-based blog that was custom coded, but now I have a Show It blog. Huge deal for us. Super thrilled about it. Other thing happened in August, my parents decided, so remember in January when my dad took this huge long break for 3 months, he came back out of that break, literally the Sunday he was supposed to start working again. He's a pastor. COVID happened and everything shut down. So he just had a lot of time to think through, like, what do they want for their life? What is this next season going to look like? And they decided maybe during this crazy COVID season, maybe they should sell our childhood home. So after the craziness of my mom's surgery that did not go well, which we thought she had gastroparesis, which is the paralyzing of the stomach, meaning your stomach can't process and digest food. A lot of people have to have feeding tubes. She was diagnosed with that after her surgery because of a complication that happened during her routine surgery. We were shocked by it. We were saddened by it. We were kind of grieving the loss of Mimi having a normal life. Miraculously, I mean, we've been praying for her for months for a miracle, and we got our miracle. I say this because I don't think often we talk about when we pray for something and it comes to fruition. It's kind of like, oh, so glad that happened. But when we think about what happened with Mimi, I mean, she had a horrible diagnosis. Nothing we can do. Your stomach just won't digest food anymore. You'll never eat majority of the foods that you enjoy ever again. And now, today, she's eating everything. She was told she could never eat a piece of lettuce or a steak ever because her body couldn't process it. And she eats it all the time. It's a miracle. So amazing answered prayer. And after all this craziness happened with my mom's diagnosis and then kind of like miraculous healing, and then my dad, with so much strange stuff happening within the church and with his job, he just realized, like, I think it's time for a shift. So they put their house on the market. We grew up in the country, 50 minutes from any type of really like big city or civilized, like, a mall complex. Like if you want to go to a mall, where we grew up, you got to drive 50 minutes. So we just thought, like, it's going to take time to find the right person to buy their property. They sold their house in less than like 48 hours. They sold it for over asking price. It was an amazing opportunity. So my parents sold their house. We took the kids back, said goodbye to the house. I photographed it for the listing. And I mentioned that because looking back on 2020, this is a huge pivot year for us. Like we look at this year as being a year where we feel like no growth happens. And I looked at my family and our parents, both of them decided in this year, we're ready for a shift. It's almost like this year made everyone realize, what do I really want for my life? And that's powerful. So my parents sold their house. We said goodbye to it. We launched a website, shot 2 weddings. And we didn't really do a lot of personal stuff in August because it was just crazy. All right, so September. What happened in September? We launched the KJ Bridal Details mini course. It was supposed to be very small. It was supposed to be fast. It was supposed to be compact. It's a lot bigger than it was supposed to be. We did film it in one day, but the content, it's hours and hours of content teaching photographers how to photograph bridal details in a way that elevates their brand and their style so they look more credible online. And I love it because I've wanted to do this for so long. How long it's been on our list? It's been on our list to do for years. Finally got it done. We launched it around the time that we did our Labor Day sale. And so we introduced it to the world. And I just felt this huge relief of like, I did it. This is great. By this time, I'm feeling huge and pregnant. So it just felt like, gosh, I got that done. But in true KJ fashion, I had one more thing I really wanted to do. So I started working on that after the launch of the KJ Bridal Details mini course. Also photographed 2 weddings. One wedding was in our hometown. It was a beautiful farm wedding. Got to shoot portraits in the corn, which I always love. It was just different and it pushed me. This was also my first, how did I not mention this? This is when I bought my new favorite camera because Ty told me to. I bought the R6, fell in love with it, shot my first wedding with it. I was terrified slightly to shoot a wedding with it, but it was amazing. And so amazing that Michael left that wedding and ordered himself one and overnighted it so we could fly to Texas and shoot another wedding and he would have his own R6. That's how much we love this camera. So that's another big win of September. Last thing in September, so we shot that wedding in Texas, Jonathan and Melanie. It was gorgeous. Like one of my favorite KJ weddings to date. Came back from that. My parents were closing on their house. We took the whole family, took some family photos. We're big into saying bye to houses. It felt emotional. I bawled my eyes out driving out the driveway for the last time. So it's a big deal when you say goodbye to a house because you're saying bye to a season of your life and memories in this house. Ty knows he's sold his house. So then preschool started and praise the Lord. Our kids needed this so badly. We are so thankful for a preschool that changed everything about the way they do preschool in order to be a safe environment for our kids. But they went back to school in September and we all breathed a huge sigh of relief. All right, so October happens. And October, I literally just looked through what happened in October. I'm like, I don't know how we did all this, but October was insane. I was working behind the scenes on this big project. It was not a course, it was a product that I was working on that I really wanted to do. I wanted to get it out. It was supposed to be launched at the end of September. Then it got moved to end of October. It still wasn't ready. I was partnering on this project with my best friend Jill, who is the owner of Veil Presets. So I was working with her to create what I'm going to talk about for November. That's when I launched it. I created this product, but it took so much of my time that I really had to fight in October to make time for the fun fall family stuff that every family likes to do. We did the pumpkin patch. Don't know how we squeezed it in, but we did that with our small group at our church. We did an engagement session and a miniature baby moon in Austin, Texas. That was just beautiful. We love it's Nikhil and Paige. We love them. And we can't wait to see them this coming October. We did that. But we also, during that trip, is when we got the call that Evie had leaned her chair back at the dinner table and she was at the hospital with a concussion. So that was unfortunate, but we did apple picking. We got to take our kids to all this fun fall stuff. We took so many pictures of them. We shot a wedding up in Pennsylvania for my brother-in-law's sister and her new husband. It was a beautiful month. It was full of so much exciting stuff. And we somehow went and visited my brother again. I don't know how we fit it all in. October was crazy, and I was literally getting to the point where I'm like a month and a half for having a baby. October was also amazing because our kids for the first time were old enough to appreciate Halloween. Halloween the last couple of years with really young kids was kind of like a flop. It's like they don't understand what's going on. But this year they grasped it and it was hilarious. Now the older two grasped it, my sister's son and our oldest daughter. The middle cousins, not so much. It was hilarious. If you want to see more photos, you can go to the blog. So November was a huge month because the very beginning part of November, we launched the KJ preset process. This was the project I'd been working on since September, poured so much time and effort, so many work days. I mean, I traveled like to Charlottesville to meet Jill to work on this, and there was nowhere to meet her, obviously, because of the pandemic. We literally worked and built this product out of our cars, outside of coffee shops in the heat. I mean, we worked so hard to get this product out into the world before I had this baby, and it was a huge success. We had a goal of selling 1,000 of them. Before the end of the year, we sold 2,500 of them within 72 hours. I don't even know how that's possible, but we are thrilled with the success of this product and the fact that people needed it in our industry, that people love using it, that people are having a great experience with it. So it's for photographers who either want to speed up their manual editing process that we've taught in the KJ Consistency course, or it's for photographers that need help finding their style and maintaining consistency. It's a combination of presets and profiles in a 4-step process in Lightroom. It's not a traditional preset. So if you think, oh, I want to get KJ presets, it's not KJ presets. It's a preset process, legitimate process. So it's very different. We've never seen anyone in the industry take presets and profiles and put them together into a 4-step process. And so that is why people are loving it so much. It's because it's a different approach to editing. Okay, so November we did Thanksgiving number 1, Thanksgiving number 2 with 2 different sides of the families. Then we did, my sister's house was under construction, like major construction. I'm getting ready to have a baby. She's getting ready to have a baby. We launch our Black Friday sale, which is our biggest sale of the year. All the while, I did engagement sessions. I did a lot of engagement sessions I'm not even mentioning. All the while, we're doing monthly KJ All Access content, which takes days to get done, and weekly YouTube content every single week. So in November, we set aside some time for Ty to come over and to pre-film content to get me through the baby, the phase of having a baby, having a really new newborn and not wanting to be filmed at all. I basically told Ty, we're going to get this done and then see ya. I don't want to do this again for 2.5 months. I can't do it. So we filmed for the rest of like baby season, and I kind of closed the doors to my business the end of November in hopes that I could just take a really awesome maternity leave, which I've gotten to do. I'm so thankful. But I look back at this year, and yes, December is another month I could go through, but really December was all about getting this baby here. And if you have followed us any length of time, you know that Evie was 9 pounds, 10 ounces, Graham was 9 pounds, 14 ounces, and like we thought, Everett was 10 pounds, 1 ounce. I got my 10 pounder. I can claim that I've had a 10-pound baby. And his birth was beautiful. It was exactly what I hoped it would be. I'm so thankful. When you have lost a baby and you've lived through that at the end of a pregnancy like we did with baby James, there's nothing more beautiful than getting to see a living, healthy baby in your arms. So December was just about Christmas with our family and giving birth to our new baby boy. So it was a crazy year. And when I look back at this year, I think to myself, it was such a year of loss for so many. It was a year of struggle. It was a year of uncertainty. It was a year of pivoting. It was a year of reimagining. And I see that happening in my family. I saw it happen in business. I saw it happening for our students. And while there was so much struggle, there were also victories. And we struggled in different ways. I know that this year and our dynamic, our setup in our home with people that work with us, we could do everything that we need to do virtually. And I'm so grateful for that. I know that's not the case for everyone. This was a really, really hard year for a lot of people, especially a lot of our students. And so it was also, what that meant for us is that we had to pivot and become something new for our students, even in the midst of the pregnancies and the craziness of life. And so we hope that if you are one of our students, that the really intense phases of COVID, that you were able to join in and be a part of that intimacy that we felt as a community. But I think in general, 2020 was a year for me that stretched me to believe like it's not the end. We did a video of Michael and I, we talk about I'm the glass half empty kind of person. And this year, it was so easy for me to think this is the end of a lot of things for us. And really, once I changed my mindset, I realized it was actually the beginning of a lot of awesome things for us. It was the beginning of learning how to think differently about life and think differently about business in a way that I've never had to before. So 2020, we have a new baby. We have new views of our business. We have been challenged. We have had struggle, but we are very thankful for the way that we have shown up as a family and as a community this year. I did want to say before I go that if you have never taken time to actually look back at your calendar, look back at your photos, maybe scroll through your phone and just take a mental note, maybe actually make notes, whether it's making a blog post like I did, whether it's journaling about it, whether it's just making note in a mental note in your head. It's healthy, I think, to look back through what you've lived through and what you've accomplished and what you've endured and what you've walked through, even if it's good, if it's bad, if it's a struggle. Walking through this year and digging up photos and looking at the timeline of things and recognizing there's so much beauty that has come from being able to take the time to appreciate those things. I was so frustrated with what my mom endured the beginning of this year. I didn't understand why she had to go through so much pain, so much struggle. But looking back, once I did the timeline and wrote this blog post, I saw how God kind of strategically placed some of the struggle, some of the hurt, and some of the trying times into our story of this year, because gosh, it made them pivot into such a beautiful season. They literally today are going to sign papers to build a tiny little cottage in the woods, and that's where they're going to spend their retirement years together as a couple that's been married for 30 plus years. And so I just think there's beautiful things that come from being able to see, even in hardship, what did this year look like for me? So maybe that's encouraging for you to take a step back, look at your calendar, look at your photos, look at what you've walked through and what you've endured in 2020. It was a gift to me. I hope it'll be a gift to you. So thank you for watching. If you have followed through this entire episode, you are a true diehard fan and we're thankful for you. I am going to be doing weekly videos now on YouTube. I'm back. Maternity leave is coming to an end. And so I'm excited to give you new content each week, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of it. If you want to see more links and hear more about the products that we launched this year and all the cool things that happened within our business, you can find the blog post link below.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.